Return Man. And whoever follows the show knows we've been following Return Man the whole process last year, how dismal it was last year, just to see what was going on with that. For a team that's been primarily pretty damn good at special teams, especially the return side of things, since the Andy Reid and Dave Toub have been here. Last year was a disaster from all scope of special teams, really, but mainly special teams. So last year, as we said, it was a tricky thing finding a return man, a consistent guy, revolving door punt return up until the playoffs when KT kind of took off and was healthy. Kick return was pretty much held in check by Pacheco all year. JD and I weren't the biggest fans of Pacheco being the kick return, and especially now with his torn labrum and broken hand, they're not going to be having him. He will not be playing special teams this year. No kick return. Especially with him being the RB1 now on top of the nursing an injury. So it looks like it's an open competition at kick return. Going back to the Kansas City Chiefs last year, we used 4 different punt returners last year. And I don't even know if that's even counting Justyn Watson. So you did Skyy Moore, McCole Hardman, Tony, and I think, Justyn Watson was even back there. He had that one fair catch one game, which is pathetic. And then Chiefs fumbled the ball seven times on returns, losing 5 of them last year. A lot of muffs last year. It was
I think when they put Watson back there, it's them concerned about like it not being fielded correctly. I think they know he'll catch it.
It was catching, because it was. I think it was after a couple games where Skyy.
It's like back in the day, whenever like the Patriots flashy punt returner would mess up, they'd put like Welker back there to fair catch it and just be like, all right, or like Edelman, they'd put him down just a fair catch and just a sure-handed guy, you know?
Yeah, they were good, decent.
Yeah, they were
returners though, both those guys. Justyn Watson is not a punt returner by any means. That guy, I mean. He's a fast guy.
It just shows you how scared they are about the punt not being fielded.
Yeah. And luckily, we have a lot of guys who are rotating in at that right now, so we're going to get into a little bit of that. So whenever Kadarius Toney returns, he will be the punt returner. Ironically, this is how he got hurt. They were doing a punt return drill, fielding drill, where he planted, and that's where he tore his meniscus, or partially tore his meniscus. So that's what happened. So I don't know if it's going to hinder him playing punt return when he comes back, but he obviously who knows what would happen if he didn't return that punt in the Super Bowl and did what it did. So like he's a good best punt return we have on the team. But other guys for the kickoff return to take over what Pacheco's been doing. That's been kind of the one we've seen the most as far as Deneric Prince and Richie James doing that as at the kick return spot. So we've seen Deneric Prince. Dave Toub even said that Deneric Prince reminded him of Niles Davis. I
said that a while ago.
He was a solid kick return.
He reminded me of him big time.
Yeah. And that was the funny thing, because I thought Pacheco running style out of college looked like Niles Davis. And then they said Niles Davis kind of reminds me of Deneric Prince. I was like, oh, I can see that. But yeah, so far, Deneric Prince and Richie James have been the top 2 guys. I think Richie James being the number 1 guy, and Deneric Prince being the number 2 guy as far as returning kicks so far during training camp. So that pretty solid. Richie James has shown he can return, mostly on the punt return side of things.
That's
right. But then, as far as the punt return, if they want to limit Kadarius Toney, and until Kadarius Toney returns, the punt return's kind of in flux right now. But Richie James being number 1, getting punt return reps. Emir Smith-Marsette's been number 2 in getting punt return reps. And then Nico Remigio, rookie out of Fresno State. I'm a big fan of his, getting punt return reps for the number 3 spot. And then Skyy Moore also working in as well at the punt return reps. So first off, my question to you is, it's a big deal. We're a franchise who had Dante Hall. We're a franchise who's, we've always had competent guys back there to return kicks for us. Merrick Vanover, Tyreek, Hardman. I mean, there's been guys over the last few years. We've had guys. D'Anthony Thomas was a solid return man for us too. We've always had guys consistently. Charles returning kicks for us for a little bit too. We've always had guys back there, and so like, not really having a guy and they kind of having revolving doors kind of scary. So my question to you is, how big of a deal is it to lock down a consistent guy out the gate? And so we're not having this 4 revolving door different guys every week next year.
I don't think we're going to have a consistent guy all year. Yeah, I think it's going to be a rough ride this year for us again. Yeah, I don't have a lot of.
Why? Are you not a Richie James fan?
So let me start with Tony, because I think he's got the most talent to be the best return man. Even if they said he's our full-time guy who's going to be might be a part-time player because of his injuries. So can you rely on him to be your return man all year? I think if you're saying Tony's our guy, then okay, who's our number 2? Because that guy's going to be returning him half the time. So,
well, I think you look at the punt return aspect. You look at those guys I mentioned. It's Richie James. I think Richie James will be the main punt return guy because kick return that's not Tony's thing. That's a toy.
I'd love for Skyy to become the guy, but punt. Dude, that was like every time he was back there, I was like, oh my god, like so. He's definitely Skyy Moore's one muff punt away from them just going, whoever brings him up again is fired. Like, don't ever bring him up again. He's got some kind of mental block with it. He can't. I mean, he does a great. He must do it great in practice. He must tear it up in practice because they kept giving him shot after shot. I would bank on Richie James being the guy. He's got a lot of experience with it. He returned punts last year for the Giants and previous 3 seasons for the Niners. He returned kicks in 18 and 19 for the Niners too. He took one to the house, actually. I think he's also got the right, as far as look goes, I think he's got the right blend of speed and wiggle too. Because Pacheco and Prince are more just kind of like catch and straight, just start running guys. They don't have a lot of wiggle to them, but I think James has that right combination. But I think even if we do have a lockdown return man, I would expect to see a lot of guys back there trying throughout the season.
The only
I
thing
think James
I'll say,
ends up being our most worked return man this year.
When you say return man, are you just talking strictly?
I think he's our
or are you talking
punt guy? Unless they just like are like, you know what, we're just not going to go. If they make Tony a punt return, they got to be like, okay, well then we're not going to. He's not like a 10 target guy for us on offense. Like that's done. Because I mean, he's going to get injured.
Really? You think?
I mean, what? He's going to get injured if you give him. Because he's kind of like Debo light. So what? Like 3 carries a game, 6 catches a game, and punt returns. He's going to get killed out there. You can't do it. Now, if he's like more of like a gadgety guy and you're spreading the ball around to 6 different receivers, like we said, everyone gets 500 yards. Because it's not like you said Tony's going to be a 900-yard guy, right? What's he going to be, a 5 to 4 to 7, 5 to 8?
I think best case for him is about 800 yards. I think
realistically between 6 and 8.
Worst case.
Okay, so that's not much more than like what 3 to 5 catches a game, 3-4 catches a game.
No, because I don't think we're gonna have a legit number 1 receiver. That's why I'm saying
he could be that.
He is
if we're not over. I was saying if we're overworking him on offense, there's no way in hell he's gonna be a punt returner. But if they're like 2-3 carries a game, fun end rounds, and then a couple of 3-4 catches. Yeah, I think he could be the punt returner. I still think he gets banged up because it just even with a low work amount, he's gonna get banged up. James has done both. I don't think it's crazy for him to do both. It seems like they like more of the catch and just go guys though, which is like got Pacheco and Prince written all over it. Just like catch it and just use your clocked fast as hell speed to get up the field and get as best field position as possible.
Yeah. He didn't do so we're just talking Richie James right now, because I do think Richie James will be, well, Tony's not there. I think Richie James will be the number 1 punt return guy. I think it's not even close. He will be the punt return guy. I don't see Prince doing that. He didn't even say his name they didn't even say his name in the punt return. He hasn't been back there. I think Remigio could be that. Remigio was a solid return guy in college if he makes the team. That's another guy we didn't even mention.
Yeah, because all the 10 receivers we have. Ross and Watson are on the block, then Remigio's already on the bus.
Yeah, but he's a guy who could be on the practice squad, and I think he could easily get there, and it would not be like someone's gonna snag him from that. But the one thing I'll say about which when we signed Richie James, I remember I was happy about the signing. But then you had the Giants fans and you had the Niners fans comments like, "Oh, I hope that guy's not returning punts or kicks for you because that guy is a fumbling disaster." Now they're talking about this, that Richie James being our potential return man. I'm going to his stats here. Ooh, man. So in his career, going back to 2018, he has 7 fumbles on punt returns. 2018 he had 2. In 2020 he had 2, and then 2022 Giants fans. This is the one that I heard the most was he had 3 fumbles last year. Being their I know. So like I'm fine with him being a punt return guy in a pinch if Tony's not there, because I don't think Tony's in. I know that they say, oh, he could be wide receiver 1. Yeah, he could be. He's all talent in the world. But realistically, they're not going to give him the volume that a wide receiver 1 will get. He's not going to be a Justin Jefferson. He's going to be a guy who has injury problems, who's on a team who spreads the ball around. And
I think I'd rather that anyway.
And I think so that
I'd rather a better punt returner than a guy who's not being overworked on offense, especially if it's not necessary.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's why he's going to be our punt returner when he's healthy, when he's all there. As far as kick return, he wasn't. Richie James was not a return. Kick returner last
for 18 and 19 for the Niners. I think he was one of their main returners.
Yeah. So 18 and 19 was their main kick, or one of their main kick return guys. 2020 he was not their main guy. He only had 4 returns. And then 2017 or 2022 he was not the return guy for the Giants, or kick return guy. So like. It's 2018. I could see them go. 25 yards.
Not that I agree or don't agree. I could see them going Prince though, trying that out.
Yeah, and I think
it's a way to him to get more touches and feel more integrated too.
And also too, they obviously like that kind of guy, right? Because Niles Davis was that guy, and it's the same team that had Niles Davis, and then this is the same coaching staff.
100%.
Our guy Pacheco back there last year. They obviously like that kind of build. You know what that means? That means they don't want anyone going.
Yeah, they don't want wiggle.
Go north south, get as field as possible.
Yeah,
just get upfield. Which there's drawbacks to that. And I also think JD and I talked about a lot last year. There was times where Pacheco and this is coaching staff was telling him to do this. JD and I were not a fan of it. He was fielding the ball in the end zone and taking it out. Like, dude, just get the ball and get it at the 25. What are you doing? But hey, they have a strategy, and they want their guys to go get the ball and just take it out the field. And if Prince isn't getting RB1 looks, at least he's getting kick return reps. And also it keeps him on the team too. You know, we talk about having 4 running backs. It also gives him a spot. Hey, he's our kick return guy. So interesting to see how they return. I think that's one of the things people aren't talking about as much, is because people have forgotten how much of an issue this was this last year.
Well,
and so like
Tony's punt return kind of made you forget about a season of gaffes.
Yeah, but then people forget how often when he was out after we got him, he was out for the next 5 weeks. We had Hardman and other people rotating in at that spot. And Hardman barely did it because he was hurt last year, most of the year.
Another thing to look for.
So talking about injuries, return for sure. Yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest things. That's why I addressed it on our first training camp show. I had to make mention of the return specialists. Hi everybody, thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.